And at the very start of the film, I'm like, actually, I don't want this to be a horror movie. Hello friends, I'm so excited because I'm about to go see Drop. This is the new horror whodunit directed by Christopher Landon. Christopher Landon is known for writing and directing Happy Death Day, Freaky, We Have a Ghost. He also co-wrote Hard Eyes, which came out around Valentine's Day, but now he is back for this twisted approach to a really awful date. The film follows a widowed mother's first date in years that turns terrifying when she is bombarded with anonymous threatening messages on her phone. The film stars Megan Fahey and Brandon Sklenner. Christopher Landon, of course, is only directing this film, and it is written by Gillian Jacobs and Chris Roach. I do know a lot of you guys in America have complained to me about how much this trailer has been bothering you in cinemas lately. We have not got it as much as you guys, so I do apologize, especially if it played before this video. I do not have a say on that. I have been lucky enough to have avoided the full trailer. I did see a little teaser trailer when it first came out, when I was first anticipating it at the start of the year with my most anticipated films of the year videos. So I've been waiting ever since then. Actually, ever since I saw Megan in Perfect Couple, the Netflix murder whodunit series with Nicole Kidman, I got really excited when it said she was in an upcoming horror that is directed by Christopher Landon. I am going to a general public screening today, but it's an advanced screening, which is really cool. There's like a wine package, so I am taking myself on a date to go see a horror movie, which is perhaps my favorite activity in the world. So why don't you guys come with me? I'll let you know if it is worth your time and your hard-earned money in 2025. Spoiler free. I'm gonna let you know if it suits your taste, because we all like different stuff and we all have different preferences on how we like our dates. So I'll let you know whether this one is a good one. Let's go see Drop. Hello friends, I just got out of Drop and that was such a fun cinema experience. I will say that this film, it is very frustrating, but I love a lot of elements in it. It's definitely a very over-the-top movie, plays completely into the whodunit kind of spectacle, but it is frustrating at points, but so lovable. The characters are so lovable, I didn't care. At the end of the film, I did the most embarrassing thing. I felt myself doing this. Which says it all. I know you guys have seen the trailer a billion times and I have not. I do think it probably gives away a bit, but it is all about the atmosphere and the acting in this film, and it's just such a fun, bombastic kind of ride. But we do follow a woman who is a widow, and it has a lot to do with her kind of backstory as she goes on this date. The first date that she's been out on in a very long time, let's just say that. And then while she's on this date, she starts getting messages dropped to her phone, and they are asking her to play a little game. It's not like a jigsaw game by any means, but it is a whodunit. She's trying to figure out who it is, and it kind of goes from there. But the chemistry her and her date have is phenomenal. That at the start, the way it leads into the characters, they're all so charming and beautiful, and I just wanted to do this to the main characters. And at the very start of the film, I'm like, actually, I don't want this to be a horror movie. I want this to be a romance because I love them so much. And I think it's all due to the actors. They're just so charismatic and so well casted in this kind of film. It felt very different for that. Security is checking me out. It felt very different for that. It wasn't like the typical horror kind of setup, but it is more of like the murder mystery whodunit idea than a typical horror setup. But it is very Christopher Landon. There's a lot of comedy in there. There's very much comedic relief characters. And although it is a twisty ride, it keeps you guessing. Everyone's a suspect, which is the tagline. I think it still had me on the edge of my seat. And when I say it's frustrating in the manner of how she is kind of trapped in this situation. It's frustrating to watch because you are trying to think of all of the different ways that you could solve the problem, and none of them are explored at all. You really do have to go along for the ride. And in saying that, it is very heightened, it's very overdramatic. There's a lot of things that happen in this film that, I guess, plot holes, but it's just fantastical, I guess. There is no surrealism or paranormal activity, but it is very much over the top. So if you're okay with that, it will definitely be up your alley. I will say, this film does have a couple of aspects I find really cheesy, and I have pointed out before in movies. Text on the screen, because she is getting drops to her phone. There is continuous messages kind of popping up, and they're shown in like stylizations of almost titles across the screen in any negative space. And I find that to be quite off-putting when they put text messages on the screen, but within the stylization of this film, it really sold me, and I guess that's why I went for the ride with them, because it's these little tiny details and elements that really polish the movie. And the cinematography of the film, it really kept the tension. There's a lot of undershots and a lot of like reverse transfers. They're doing really funky things with all of the shots, changing up lenses constantly. And I felt like there was just a lot of fun elements where you weren't looking at the same shot, the reverse, you know, back and forth over and over. They used those different elements to keep it fun and kind of funky. And in terms of that, weaving in the stylization of how they have the messages pop up, not just showing her phone, it kind of added to that element where they were already making the cinematography so interesting. So I'm actually going to give it a pass for that, which is, I have to say that, you know, I have to be honest about that, but I just thought it was so fun. This is one of those movies I'm just so glad I saw in the cinema, because it is cinematic, it's epic. Although you know kind of what you're getting at the end of the day, I guess, especially with the trailer, it still fulfills the brief in a really fun and satisfying way. Even though I found a lot of the middle to be frustrating in this kind of situation, the whole point is it's meant to be frustrating. She's meant to be trapped into a situation she doesn't want to be in. And the fact that I felt frustrated is probably a credit to the movie itself. The chemistry that the actors had and the characters had was undeniable. And I felt myself laughing out loud, gasping, and really playing into the beats of the film, even though it's done in such a stereotypical way. And I'm glad it went a little bit deeper in terms of her background and her information. It does go into her trauma. It does start with that, so, you know, it's not like that comes later in the film. I liked that it had a little bit of a deeper element, but it does come off a little bit cheesy with all of the other over-the-top moments that are included. I mean, it's a very interesting situation, and that's what film is meant to be. Some of the time, outlandish situations. I think that this film is really fun. It's such a fun and funky film to see in the cinema. It really had me in the palm of its hand. It's a little bit cheesy and cliche, but that's what I really liked about it. And they polished the details so well that it was forgivable. It was cheesy, but in a very satisfying way. It's a simple whodunit, but with a very charismatic cast. And who doesn't like that? So if you do like whodunit films, if you like mysteries, and if you like feeling a little bit frustrated and situations that are a little bit over the top and unbelievable, then this film is for you. If you can't suspend your disbelief, maybe give it a skip, but I do think that this one is well worth watching. It is a fun film if you do not see it in cinemas, which I do recommend seeing in the cinemas because those angles, I was totally drawn into it. You have to check it out as soon as it comes to streaming, for sure. I don't think it's going to be everyone's favorite horror film of the year, but it's definitely very thrilling. It's hard because I know that this film is not a masterpiece and it is a little bit cheesy, but it was just such a fun time. I'm going between a 7 and an 8. I know, you guys. I'm here to explain the situation so you can make your educated guess. Originality, I'm going to give it like a 3, and for scare, I'm going to give it like a 2. I don't think it was quite scary at all. But such a fun film that wasn't too heavy. She does have a little bit of a traumatic backstory, but compared to what I normally watch. That was a really fun trip at the cinemas. I very much enjoyed that movie. The thing is, I don't think it's a new classic or anything like that, or I don't really think it has huge rewatchability factor. Whodunits sometimes don't. But for a first watch in the cinema, that's exactly what I want for an easy popcorn cinema experience. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this one too. Let me know if you are into whodunits down below. And don't forget, I did a wrap up of everything I watched last month, which was a lot, and there is a new video I'm working on that's coming very soon that is a lot more disturbing than this, so make sure you're subscribed, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.